Now we have our social icons hooked up, let's figure out how to use our site metadata and GraphQL to power them. If we go to VS Code and then take a look inside our Gatsby config.js, in here you can see we have a site metadata object. Inside that at the moment we have a title and description. Anything we put inside this site metadata object will be accessible throughout our entire application, similarly to how our theme component works with its global styling. But how do we access this? So Gatsby uses GraphQL, which is a data query language for APIs, and we're going to start using it in this video. Before we do, I want to show you a tool we can use to visualize our data called GraphQL, and it's built right into Gatsby. So all we have to do is run npm start. Once that's running, we can switch to our browser. Instead of navigating to our root page, this time we're going to navigate to localhost 8000 / GraphQL. This is where Gatsby runs GraphQL. So there's a bit of a welcome message here, I'm just going to delete that. But what is this? And what are all these panels? For now, all we need to know is that everything on the left is data our application has access to. The middle area is where we can write our queries to test them out. And the right column is where we can get the results for our queries once we've run them. If we take a look at the left and drop down site, you will see site metadata. So that's down at the bottom here. Also, you'll now notice on the middle section, it started building our query. So every time we drop these down, it knows that we're obviously trying to look for these. So it starts building the query. So if I shut that, then reopen it, see it's added site in. If we drop down our site metadata, you'll see the description and title, which is in our Gatsby config file. So if you go ahead and select both of these, our query is populated. And that's our query. If we run that by clicking the big play button, our data shows up on the right. So you can see here, we have our data, site metadata, and our description and title. And this is how we can access this data across our React application. Before we start hooking into this in our React application, let's first add our social URLs into our site metadata and then test it loads into GraphQL. So if we navigate back to VS Code and go to Gatsby config.js, we want to add a social object. And inside this, we want to add our free social platforms. So Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. And inside each of these for now, I'm just going to write, not my personal one, because I can't be bothered going to these sites and finding it. I'm just going to link to each of these websites. So Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Give that a save. And now sometimes you might want to restart the terminal for this if it doesn't load into GraphQL, and we will need to refresh this page. So if we go back to our browser at localhost 8000 / __GraphQL, refresh that page, looks like nothing's changed, but now inside our site metadata, this is what I was saying about restarting it. So to kill that, clear it out, run npm start again, and then when that finishes running, I should have access to it in GraphQL. So now that's finished, let's go back, refresh again, and now you can see our site metadata has the social option which we've added in. So now let's untick our description and title and grab our free social icon. So you can see here it's removed the description and title as we've unchecked it and added in these as we've checked them. Hit play, and now we have all of our social platforms being returned in the query. Now we know how to access the data using GraphQL. Let's go back to code and see how we write GraphQL queries inside our pages. So if I just close Gatsby config.js for now, switch to our home page, so that's index.js. It's going to minimize this home page styles for now. So to access our GraphQL queries, first underneath our main page component, we need to export const query equals GraphQL and then add some backticks in. In Gatsby, there's two ways to write GraphQL queries. There's page level queries, which we're using now, and component level queries. We'll cover component level queries later in the course, but what you need to know for now is that a page level query can only be run on a component which is a page. So That would be components such as our homepage on index, our contact, blog, and about page. It cannot, however, run on individual components. So these style page queries cannot be run on components such as our footer and our header. But I'll explain how we can use component level queries in a future video. The format of a page level query also needs to look exactly like this. So we export a const query and set that equal to GraphQL and then add the backticks. Inside the backticks is where we'll write our query. Gatsby sees this named export and then it will know that it needs to supply this page with the data at build time. Before we start writing our query, we just need to import this GraphQL export, and it's an export from Gatsby, which we're not using on this page yet. So if we import GraphQL as a named export from Gatsby, that will now all be valid. Now inside of our backticks we created, we can write our query. So if we go back to our graphical instance, we can get the query that we wrote earlier. And we can just copy that entire query, go back to here, and paste that straight in. Give that a save. One thing we can do is remove the query name, as we don't actually need this. To access this data in our component above, Gatsby passes it as a prop called data. So if we destructure data onto our homepage component, and for now, we'll just console.log what data is. So now let's go back to Chrome, and now we can navigate away from our graphical editor and just go to localhost 8000 and land on our homepage. If you hit F12, just zoom that terminal in a bit, that's better. Clear that out for now. Refresh, we can see our console log. So that is getting site metadata, social, and then our social icons, just like it was in the graphical editor. Let's go back into code and make all of our font awesome icons an actual link with the data that has been supplied. So let's wrap each one of our font awesome icons inside an anchor tag, and they're all going to have the href. For now, we'll just set the href to be a / whilst we're writing this out. So we want 3 of them, and then we want to copy each one of the font awesome icons, and we want to paste them into the middle. If you remember, the reason we're using a standard anchor tag here and not the Gatsby link tag is because we're navigating away from our application to an external site, so we don't have the luxury of using our fast loading link component in this instance. Now inside each of our hrefs, let's use the data that GraphQL provided. So if we just have a quick look at Chrome, it's data.site.sitemetadata.social.facebook. That's a mouthful, so let's start writing that out. Data.site.metadata.social.facebook. Let's give that a save. We'll quickly navigate back to our code. Oh, and we have an error. So cannot read property social of undefined. So what have I done wrong? It's site metadata with a capital M. So site.siteMetadata. Now if I navigate back and refresh, again it's not caught my last save as it's still saying siteMetadata. So if I just go back, give it another save so it re-renders. Hopefully this time we're all smooth. Perfect. So now if we inspect our Facebook icon, you'll see that it is an anchor tag with the href of facebook.com. So now let's add that to the other two. Before we do that, let's try and shorten this down a bit as it is quite a lengthy statement. So where our console log is, we can remove that now. And we will destructure social, and we'll destructure that off data.site.siteMetadata. So if we delete that out of there and the dot, paste that there. Now we can just write social dot for each of our hrefs. Social dot, which one is this? Dot LinkedIn, and social dot Twitter for the last one. Give that a save. Let that re-render. Switch back, refresh, and now we can have a look at all of that anchor tags. So we have Facebook, LinkedIn and Twitter. You can also just check that they work. Facebook works, LinkedIn works, and last but not least, Twitter. Perfect. This is a nice ease into the power of GraphQL queries. We'll be writing much more advanced ones throughout this course, so we get more familiar with it as we go forward. And we'll be accessing things such as all our blog post data and creating pages based off that data. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.